Alright, good evening folks, it's Enforcer Matt and welcome back to another short war video, and today we have very big developments as Poland prepares to defend against the Russian Zapad 2025 military exercises, which starts tomorrow, so let's jump right into it. This morning we have confirmation that Poland is deploying over 40,000 troops to the Belarus border as Poland warns that Zapad could be a rehearsal for the invasion of the Suwalki Gap. We also have confirmation from Polish officials that they were deliberately attacked by Russia the other day, and also Ukrainian President Zelensky has weighed in as well, echoing Polish sentiments that this is an invasion rehearsal. Meanwhile, Poland and Latvia have closed their eastern airspace that borders Belarus immediately to prepare for any possible provocations by Russia, and we also have news about a new Ukrainian attack on the Russian Black Sea Fleet and the worsening gas crisis across the Russian Federation. So, very big news today, folks, and also I know the headlines are kind of getting buried right now by the domestic US news, but this is still a massive story right now. This could lead to direct war with Russia, so it certainly is something to watch very closely. But let's jump right into our first article, which goes to United 24 Media. And this right here is our biggest story of the day. Right now we're hearing that Poland is sending 40,000 troops to its borders with Belarus and Russia as Moscow and Minsk launch Zapad 2025 war games, drills, etc. And Poland warns this could rehearse an attack on NATO's vulnerable Suwalki Gap. So right now we're seeing a very large Polish counter deployment to the Russian deployment inside of Belarus, and we were expecting something like this, but now we're getting the exact number of troops that Poland is sending, so it's definitely not a small number here, and it definitely seems to be a very large Polish deployment, which is very wise because this is a massive Russian deployment inside of Belarus, and that must be countered because there's always the possibility that Russia and Belarus could launch some sort of invasion or attack on a NATO country, considering they literally just got done attacking Poland with drones over their airspace. So very concerning right now. We're seeing that today, that Poland is making that very large deployment. But moving into our next post here, this one goes to Military News Ukraine. And right here in this post, we have a direct statement from the Polish Minister of Foreign Affairs Sikorski, and he says in Poland's assessment, it's that Russian drones deliberately targeted Poland the other night, and Poland's admitting that outright at this point. So we kind of knew that as looking at the footage. It didn't appear to be an accident, and there were so many drones that went into Polish airspace, it's very hard to even try to make the argument that it was an accident on Russia's side. So we do have a direct statement here, so let's take a quick listen to the first like 20 seconds of it and see what he had to say.
Last night, Poland's airspace was breached 19 times by drones manufactured in Russia. The assessment of Polish and NATO air forces is that they did not veer off course, but were deliberately targeted. The Polish Air Force, assisted by our allies from the Netherlands, Italy and Germany, shot them down. Property was damaged, but fortunately, nobody was injured.
So you can hear right there in the statement that he did indicate that there was a deliberate targeting of Poland by these Russian drones, and they did not accidentally veer off course, and he stated that very clearly. So that is a very interesting statement there being made by Poland, and it does indicate our worst fears are confirmed that Russia did essentially attack Poland the other night. So not good whatsoever. But jumping into our next one here, this one goes to open source intel. And we are still hearing the Russian response right now. We're seeing in this post that the Kremlin on Western claims about Russian drones in Poland said this. They said there will be no new Russian comment, and rhetoric from Warsaw is typical of almost all European capitals. So what we can tell by this is the Russian strategy is deny everything. They are not accepting any type of responsibility for anything, and they're even denying that drones went into Polish airspace at this point. So the Russian response is insane right here. Obviously Russian drones went into Polish airspace. That's not up for debate, and the Russians are acting like they don't even know about it. So that is extremely malicious right there, just that statement from the Kremlin, and I think that pretty much indicates also some more worse fears that Russia likely did do this intentionally, or they would at least acknowledge it was an accident. Right now they're not even acknowledging that. But moving on to our next one, this one goes to Anton Yeroshenko. And right here in this post, we actually got a video here from the Russian propagandists who are speaking about this exact situation with Poland and the Russian drones, and we're seeing that the Russian propagandists are trying to spin this narrative that no Russian drones were aimed at Poland, and it's just sloppiness. I'm not really sure what that means, but we do have a video here to show you of these lunatics talking right here, so let's take a listen.
Ну, все дело же в том, что практически каждую ночь на территории Украины наносятся удары сотнями беспилотных летательных аппаратов, ракет, других управляемых боеприпасов. То есть количество обломков разного рода беспилотных летательных аппаратов с серийными номерами там наших предприятий, шильдиками, настолько велико, что в принципе Ну, под каждым углом в Польше можно высыпать как минимум самосвал вот наших обломков за время ведения боевых действий. Так что если они что-то сейчас найдут и начнут козырять, показывать, ну, ребят,
что-то...
ну ведь халтура.
So I'll be honest with you, I'm really not sure how to interpret any of those statements right there. It sounds very like word soup. I'm not really sure how to interpret that, but this is not an official state source right here. These are simply talking heads in the Russian Federation, so we can't take anything they're saying there as even fact because they're not even from the government. So it's obviously coming from a Russian state-sponsored channel here, I think, but it's not a government statement. So whatever he's saying there, which I guess I can interpret that to mean that he's trying to say that no drones were found in Poland. I'm not really not sure, to be totally honest with you, but the propagandists are sort of mocking the entire situation. So that kind of shows you the Russian attitude in general toward this entire thing is generally they're mocking the West. So that's another bad sign. But jumping into our next one here, this one also goes to United 24 Media. And right here in this post, we can see that Zelensky's also weighed in on the attack on Poland as well by Russia. And Zelensky's saying this attack reminds him of Crimea, and he thinks it looks like a attack rehearsal. And he's saying there's already reports in the media about certain parts of Poland that Russia wants to claim. So not only is Poland saying this, but also Zelensky's saying it as well. And I'm sure that other people are taking this extremely seriously. So it's not just some type of fringe theory right here. This is actually something being floated by several different world leaders right now, and that is also extremely concerning to hear as well. But moving on to our next one, this one goes to Geo Insider. And as a result of all the recent bad activities happening by Russia toward NATO, we are seeing that Poland's Air Navigation Services Agency has imposed flight restrictions in eastern Poland, meaning they've closed the airspace and near the borders with Ukraine and Belarus at the request of the armed forces. And from September the 10th to December the 9th, civilian flights are banned at night and drones are banned 24/7, and only military aircraft are exempt. So this right here is what we're looking at, folks. This area outlined in purple right here, this is the flight restrictions according to what we know right now. So it's bordering Belarus right there. It's also bordering Ukraine as well. And this is believed to create a zone here, basically for Polish air forces to be able to shoot down incoming objects without any interference from commercial aircraft or drones at all. So that is what that's for right there. But that's a pretty big move right now. We're seeing Poland closing their eastern airspace right before Zapad kicks off. So very interesting. But Poland is not the only country doing that. And moving into our next post here, this one goes to us on Twitter. And we've also seen that Latvia has also declared a no-fly zone along its southern and eastern borders with Belarus and Russia. So clearly Latvia is taking this very seriously as well, right before Zapad's also about to kick off. And we're seeing right here, there's a map showing you the flight restrictions right now. And there is mainly a lot of closed airspace over here toward Belarus, which would be the area of concern. So they are following up just like Poland did with these airspace closures that we're seeing right now. So both of those countries did that, and I would not be shocked to see maybe some other countries do this as well. This might be something that spreads really quickly amongst the NATO allies. But moving on to our next one here, this one goes to Visegrad 24. And moving on from our news about Poland, Estonia, and the Baltic states, we have some news right now that we've seen a new Ukrainian attack on the Russian Black Sea Fleet, this time near the port of Novorossiysk in Russia. And we actually have the video here of the initial strike on thermal cameras on this vessel that's part of the Black Sea Fleet. So let's take a look at the video and see the attack, and then we have some more details about what ship this was and how it went down. So let's take a look. So right there you can see there is the vessel, and here is the drone coming in and hitting what appears to be the top of the ship right there, and it looks like Ukraine successfully struck it using their munitions. So we did see that there in the first video we've got. But with that, moving on to our next post here, this one goes to the Euromaidan Press, and we're also learning the Russian ship hit near Novorossiysk by Ukrainian drone has been named, and it turns out the captain is now in the hospital as a result of that attack. And Ukraine confirmed that the key systems were disabled. It was the navigation, the comms, recon, and now the ship is out of operation. So there were some allegations that even though this is listed as a civilian rescue ship, I believe that's the official designation for it, there's some allegations being lobbed around by Ukraine that this is somehow related to a reconnaissance or intelligence of some sort. But right now, that is what we're hearing from the Ukrainians, and we can't independently confirm that. But this vessel was indeed hit in the Black Sea, so very interesting to see that. But moving into our next one here, this one goes to Military News Ukraine. Another big story today is we're seeing in Germany, they are now testing an air raid warning system across Germany, and the Bundestag even interrupted its session because of it. So in the midst of all the other war fears near Poland and the Baltics, we're now seeing Germany test their air raid warning system. So now, of course, I'm not a German, so I don't know how often this happens, but it appears to be that maybe this is somewhat unusual. But if you're a German that watches our channel, please let us know if this is a common occurrence or not, because it seems like air raid warning systems are probably something not routinely tested, but we did see a test of it today. So let's take a listen to the video. And there you can hear it in the background. Sounds like air raid sirens ringing out across the city. So very interesting to see that right there. It looks like the return of an old ghost of the past, the air raid sirens, once again across Europe. So there is that in the video. But moving on to our next one here, this one goes to the Kyiv Insider. Let's move on to another big story happening right now. We are seeing that Russia is still getting hit very hard by the gas crisis, and it looks like it's spreading across the entire Russian Federation, even worse than before that we reported on. So right now we're seeing the gas lines are continuing to worsen. We do have a video of this showing one of the gas lines that are breaking out across Russia. So let's take a look. It looks like the USSR 2.0 is back once again. And there you have it. It looks like a old USSR gas line right here that's actually showing up in modern day Russia of all places. So you can see all these cars lined up. They're lined up around a corner here. They're going around the street. People waiting outside their cars. I mean, it's a lot of people out here just waiting for gas. So what a sight right there. Look how far this goes. It goes all the way down the street. And in just a second, we should be able to see the gas station, maybe if this guy drives down toward it. But this thing leads all the way down to one single gas station. There it is right there. There's the gas station right there on the right. Look at all those people crammed in there too. And I really doubt, like I said before, I doubt they're going to be able to get the gas because all those people are about to drain the gas station dry pretty much, and they're not going to be able to get it. So very bad signs right there. Gas lines worsening inside of Russia, but also we have some more news here in this post, which goes to Status 6 Military and Conflict News. And we can see right here that Russian pro-Kremlin media outlets are reporting that the ongoing fuel crisis stretches across 10 regions of Russia, and in the article, the current Ukrainian strike campaign against Russian oil infrastructure is named only as an additional factor and not the primary factor, which is obviously most likely propaganda, while the causes of the ongoing crisis are described as complex. But it's really simple, though. It's because Ukraine's striking the hell out of them. But according to one of these outlets, in a number of regions of Russia, the gasoline shortage has already led to the forced suspension of work of some independent patrol stations. And initially, the problem of fuel shortages was local in nature, but now we can say that the geography is expanding rapidly, and more regions of Russia are facing a deficit. And this right here is quite severe. So let's take a look at our map and see the shortages. This is being reported right here by Russian sources. So that's quite significant right there because the Russians acknowledging it, that means it's gotten damn bad if they're acknowledging it. So over here toward the western side of Russia, toward Moscow, you can see there is a lot of shortages happening right outside of Moscow. And also it looks like in Moscow as well. We've seen that on camera. And also over here toward the eastern side of Russia, there is some big gas shortages as well. So we're seeing that break out across Russia, and there's a map showing generally where these are. But once again, coming from Russian sources, I'm sure this map right here probably understates the problem, and it's probably much more widespread than even this map right here shows, since it's coming from a Russian source. But that is the problem right now with the gas in Russia. It is getting really bad. But moving on to our next post here, this one goes to Null Reports. We also have another big story right here. Y'all might recall I showed y'all a video just a couple of days ago of Ukrainian-made cruise missiles believed to be the Palencia or the Peklo missile. It could be either one, but I still believe it's the Palencia. It's a turbojet powered missile. We saw it hit a factory in Russia called the Topaz plant, and we do have video today showing the aftermath of that cruise missile strike. So let's look at this video and see how potent the Ukrainian-made cruise missiles actually are when it comes to striking and destroying Russian targets. Let's take a look. And there you have it. This is allegedly the Topaz plant inside of Russia. And you can see right here that appears to be a hell of a lot of damage right there. Let me go ahead and mute the video so that way that racket's not going on. But look at all the windows blown out. I mean, it looks like those cruise missiles actually worked really well, actually. A lot of explosive power behind them. This place looks like it's been absolutely ravaged. So this is what we're seeing as a result of the cruise missile strike by Ukraine. And like I said, it looks like the missiles are very potent that Ukraine's producing domestically now. So that's what we're seeing right there in the video, just to give you an idea of the destruction left behind by those missiles. But jumping into our next one here, this one goes to Max 25. We're also hearing, by the way, that the Ukrainian military is set to train the Polish military and NATO soldiers how to shoot down enemy drones. According to the Polish representatives, they'll be sent to Ukraine on the issue. So that is what we're hearing right now, folks. Now, one thing I want to point out is when Poland just shot down the Russian drones over their airspace the other day, they used very expensive, I believe they were AIM-9X missiles to shoot down these cheap Russian drones. That is not sustainable whatsoever. whatsoever. So that is one thing that me and the Enforcer have been saying a long time on our channel here, is NATO needs to get their act together really quickly with how to shoot down these drones cost effectively, because we can't be using $100,000 missiles to shoot down very cheap, like $10,000 drones. That simply will not hold up in a war. And right now we're expecting Ukraine to basically fill the gap on that whole situation. So I would say this is a very wise move right now, that we're getting the Ukrainian military to train our soldiers in Poland, the NATO soldiers, how to shoot down these enemy drones, because otherwise we could be in some trouble, because we can't use those expensive missiles to shoot down inexpensive stuff. That's simply not a realistic possibility. But moving into our last post here, this one goes to us on Twitter at It's the Enforcer. And I want to jump on a different topic for our last one here in the video. This is something right here which I found very disturbing, that's actually not getting any news coverage whatsoever, and this kind of steps out of our normal news coverage right here just a little bit, but it does have to do with the US military and also some defenses that we might need to shore up as well. We're hearing that footage was just released showing a US Air Force fighter jet firing a Hellfire missile at a UAP off the coast of Yemen, and the missile appeared to bounce off the aircraft as it kept flying. And the footage was released yesterday, but it was recorded by the US Air Force in late 2024, which was just last year. So unfortunately I can't show you the video right here on this stream, but if you want to see it though, you can actually go to our Twitter page. Here's the link to it that you're looking at right here on the screen. You can find it on our Twitter page, and it's a CBS News article that has this out, so you can go view the video there on their page. But this is an image right here showing this object on a US Air Force camera from a fighter jet, and obviously this thing was moving very fast, it was moving very oddly, and we fired a Hellfire missile at it, the US Air Force did, which is the first time I've ever heard at a Hellfire missile being fired at a UAP. The missile just, I watched the video, the missile bounced off this object right here and it kept flying like it was not affected by it. So I don't know what the hell this thing is right here. It's clearly an aircraft of some sort. We're not sure where this aircraft came from or whose aircraft it is, but that sets off a lot of alarm bells in my mind. First of all, why are we firing a Hellfire missile at something we can't identify? And number two, the missile bounced off of it. So whatever it is, apparently is immune to our Hellfire missiles. So that has me very concerned right now, and I have no idea what to even make of this right here. It's really mind-boggling what this even could be. So just some food for thought, folks. I don't know what this is, but just some food for thought right there with that one. So we'll have to sort of like just think that one over a little bit more. But with that, folks, that is actually the last article of our video. So if you found today's video informative, smack the like button and also subscribe to the channel as well if you're new to the channel for more daily war updates just like this one. And also, by the way, folks, if you found this informative enough and you want to support our work, you can do so on our Patreon page, and the link is in the description below for Patreon, where you can go over there and sign up for a monthly membership, and it could be as little as $5 a month. That's still a big help to the channel, and we greatly appreciate all of our Patreon supporters very, very much. And also, good news, folks, we will be back to streaming tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. The Enforcer is coming back today. In fact, he should be back here very shortly, and we will be streaming tonight. So the streams are back, and thankfully so, because I'm missing the streams myself. I enjoy doing them, and also these videos are good right here, but we get to go into things very in depth on the stream. So be sure to join us tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern to cover all the remaining news throughout the day, and it'll be good to see you all in the chat once again. But in the meantime, folks, we'll see you all on the Twitter page, and with that, bye-bye for now.